Hi, everybody. It's Thursday, and we are Trekker's Delight. I'm Marie Brownhill. I'm here with Jermaine, Keith Shevlin, and Jason McCammon, and we are going to be talking about Charades. No, not the Sacred Human Game, the Star Trek Strange New Worlds episode. Lots happens. We have opinions. You know it. So, theme footage.
Nurse Chapel has applied for a Vulcan Fellowship and has enlisted members of the crew to help her, except for Spock. Pike informs Spock that he and Chapel will get readings from an anomaly emanating from a planet once inhabited by the Kerkovians. The anomaly damages the shuttlecraft and Spock sustains injuries too. Both Spock and Chapel return, but not without the Kerkovians changing Spock into a complete human with the emotions of a teenager. The crew finds a transmitter on the shuttle that allows them to speak to the Kerkovians who live interdimensionally. Nurse Chapel, feeling a type of survivor's remorse, works to alter Spock's condition. Meanwhile, T'Pring, her parents, and Spock's mother, Amanda, come aboard to complete an engagement ritual. Spock, replete with human emotions, is aided by his mother and crew members to help him survive the ritual. Chapel's efforts fail, and now she can only turn to the Kerkovians for help. She gets Uhura and Artegas to take her to the anomaly, and there, she finally admits out loud her feelings for Spock, which allows her to help him. Just when Spock was to perform a mind meld, Chapel walks in to give him an injection before he was able to express his feelings to her. During the mind meld, his mother shared a memory which allowed him to view her differently. This leads to Spock admitting he performed the ritual as a human. T'Pring was offended he had not thought to share this with her, and that prompts her to call for a break. Later, Chapel goes to Spock's quarters and he admits he has feelings for someone else.
I was really tempted to, it just came upon me to just act out everything you were saying while you were saying it. It would have went with the show, the theme of the show, but
Right.
Since I didn't have it planned, it might not have. It might have just looked really weird.
Right.
Really?
This sacred ritual of Charades. Pike is
Right.
Pike is really fantastic in this as comic relief. I have to admit.
Where's the thing?
Seriously, like at the end when he starts to walk over with the food, then when Spock's giving to Pearl the dressing down, and he just kind of turns and walks off the screen.
I will.
Hey.
That was phenomenal. I loved every bit of that. And then also just the way Anson Mount lets a little bit of frustration show when T'Pring is all like, this is not traditional Stefno.
Right.
I mean, I'm like, this dude stayed up all night, and you're just going, how do we want to break this up? Do we want to talk a little bit about the Chapel arc or the Vulcan hijinks arc?
I wonder why not. I want to know why Nurse Chapel is doing all the medical science, and Benga's like, did that work? 10 to 5 minutes.
Well, she's not really. I mean, she acts as nurse, but she is a doctor in this show.
Well, I mean,
she's a PhD geneticist, is what she is.
Not to say that Omega didn't do anything. He simply just asked her, like, "You're still here." Like, it's not to say we didn't see any scenes where he did or didn't do anything. So I'm gonna assume that from his end he did, but the subplot was focused on Chapel, right? Because Mbenga really had little to do with the storyline here.
But she's a geneticist. Like, we find that out in the very first episode, remember?
But you still think they'd be working at least side by side, like working hard to get something done, you know?
Yeah, but you can't tell me that Christine was like, nah, I got this, you go away. I mean, the Survivors Guild is strong with that one.
Exactly.
Plus, if you're working side by side, you end up duplicating work too much. If you separate a little bit, you might be able to take it from different angles and find out.
I don't know about that.
But also, I think Mbenga has a remarkably developed sense of self-preservation and was just like, I am not getting in the middle of that. I'm gonna get stabbed, and frankly, I don't have the dermal regenerator for it. So
Because it's like the whole ship is pretty much seeing what we're seeing, right? It's like we're seeing that not only is Spock engaged and now he has an engagement dinner, everyone and their mama knows that he's in love with Chapel. Like, now they're being respectful and they're not, and neither of them until this moment are acting on it. But it's like, man, there's more. You think there's stuff going, just like Spock's fiance said, yeah, there's a lot that happened on Vulcan that you don't know about. But hell, there's a lot on Enterprise that went on that you don't know about.
Well, one thing
what
about
happens in
that
the captain's quarters?
one thing is not everybody knows that, is apparently La'an has no clue that there is anything going on between Spock and Jack.
I'm looking at her face and I'm going like, girl, you done time traveled to hell and back and you just now finding out?
Hey, what kind of security thief are you? You should know all the
in
stuff.
La'an's defense,
known
she's
all
had
the
some
tea.
shit going on, people.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
You are so late. How you gonna know what happened to number one, but you don't know nothing what happened to number two?
All right.
Because she didn't see everything that we saw, everything that we've seen, and everything
But
everybody
we were
else.
all with Uhura, right?
Oh yeah.
Like, when Uhura's like, come on, you know better.
That is the reaction I'm glad she gave, because it's just like, girl, you an ensign now, say something. And be like, girl, if you don't say something, I say it for you.
Right?
She loves him.
Uhura's tolerance for negative. Like, it's just not a thing.
Which is fitting with the character.
I
Just
know.
remember her with Mr. Adventure in Search for Spock.
Yeah.
Might I say, I really like the leather band on Jermaine's headphones.
Yes, we have all of that. We have all of that going on, and so basically, it seems to be that we have the exploration of the development of this relationship from two perspectives, right? And obviously, the big charade is Spock pretending to be Spock for the duration of this tedious ritual.
So, how did he do?
Well, T'Pril seemed to find him adequate.
Which is excellent for you.
Jokes,
Right.
Jokes on me,
Right.
I'm human.
Right,
Despite his handicap.
right.
I'm like, I've seen this movie somewhere. Where?
I'm not
The
gonna,
moment when he
lie to
rips
you.
off the ears, though, fantastic.
I would have been like, despite your handicap, arrogant.
I mean, because it's just like with the whole throughout the whole episode, you cannot tell me that at least one time you were like, I was hoping if I were like sort of like in the writer's room, I would have said, hey, I need you to throw in an Easter egg. And they're like, what Easter egg? And I said, there was this scene where Michael Burnham gave, and she just squinted her eyes just a little bit like I want Spock to do that exact same thing so that way we know it's a family trait. Like,
No, the scene we needed is his mother greeting T'Pril and her husband, and in the transporter, which we didn't see, because there had to be some serious side eye.
Right.
Like, your transporter took 0.5 seconds longer than I expected.
Right.
Right. It must be
Yeah,
this
I-
human. It must be this.
I'd have left you in the buffer. You'd have not known any time went by. I'd have left your ass right there.
Nobody likes this woman. Nobody. Not her daughter. Not her husband.
Even the husband says, well, didn't say it, but even the husband said, man, tell me why this human cooks better than you.
Can I have some more of that? Do we have any
Can
more
we
of that
talk-
Tefnel?
No, I tell you what Pike did. You know what Pike did? Add seasoning.
Right.
All it was salt, too.
He was like that guy on Voyager, who he was like an ambassador, and they're supposed to show him like a decent time, but he just went around like drinking and like eating everything and being like a hedonist the entire time. That was her
The
husband.
pair of them. There were
Yeah.
two of
There were
them,
like
right?
two of them. Yeah.
Well, that was Next Generation.
I think that was Next Generation. The three ambassadors, and one was like trying to fight Worf, another one was eating, and the other one was trying to fall in love with Picard. Like,
To the point where Troy was like, I have had enough chocolate.
Yeah.
I think I'm not talking about that.
I think there was a Voyager one too.
There was a
Voyager
but
one,
it
too.
wasn't as good as the Next Generation one.
I I think it's really interesting how, like, me and my friend Evan was watching Generations last night, and so watching this today, it's like, oh, so now we see what's like for Data to have like this whole range of emotions. Now we get to see what it's like for Spock. Like, Spock has been like battling emotions since he was born, but now he has like the full-on, basically half of himself. And I'm not gonna lie, I fell for Ethan just a little bit harder in this episode. Like,
I'm sure Ethan Beck was like, wait a minute, I get to smile? Like, I get to move my facial muscles?
I get to do all this.
I love that they shaved his eyebrows a little bit too. And then
Like, every reaction is a meme. Each one is a meme. Each one.
That's the like the difference between Spock and Data.
Looking like he just lost his
First of all,
virginity.
Data is just like another character, Spock, but they're like the same character, but they have two different ambitions, two different goals, two different story arcs. Like Spock has no want to be human ever, but Data, his whole path is like trying to be human.
You're a dead man, Kirk.
Because it's different.
Right.
I mean, honestly, because
Mad props, Jermaine. Mad props.
Clean it up.
I'm glad that they actually acknowledged triggers, because triggers is a real thing. So, but Spock does not tolerate. Have you ever seen Spock messy?
No,
he was
never.
given
Well, both
a
of
lot
them
of.
Other than when he came back from the dead, I don't know any other way.
He was giving a lot of Tuvok vibes in the beginning, especially when he
at the beginning, because what Tuvok was dealing with was the full range of Vulcan emotions. Spock here was 100% human, which is still like a lot for him to handle, but not as violent as Vulcan emotions, if that makes any sense.
Really? Because, I fully believe he was going to kill Kirk. Like...
Well, I mean, yeah, but he wasn't going to rip his head off. Like, but I'm pretty sure he was going to, like, at least stun him.
I mean, not for lack of trying.
No, he might
Like-
at least gave him one to the face real quick. Like,
Yeah,
Well,
no,
yeah,
there was some throwing of
like-
hands that was about to
Yeah.
happen.
Like, he's just like, clean up your mess. Like, clean up. And here's the thing. Notice that he didn't really get in trouble for that. They really were just holding him back, because it's like, Spock's not wrong. Like, every meeting you leave a mess. He cleaned up after you every meeting.
Like, read the room, Sam. Read the room. You're the only
Read
one with a
the
bagel.
room.
Like, chill.
The one cameo appearance where you get to make back after what? Half a season is you leave a dirty mess. Like, clean up. Like,
I don't know about that one. I think it was a funny moment, and I think that's what it was supposed to be, a funny moment. I do think that Lahan said it best. It's all about impulse control. Now, clearly Spock was, he had the emotions of a teenager. I get it, and so that is why they gave him grace. But that was an overreaction.
right? But how many
Yeah,
times?
absolutely.
How many times have you ever just like knocking the shit out of somebody, but you don't because
after you cleaned up after them, how
you
many
grew
times?
up. You grew up learning how to deal with your impulses, and I mean not only violent impulses, but just all around impulses. I don't know.
I think that was just, I agree with Jermaine. I think that was a moment of hijinks because it was just ridiculous. And frankly, I think it was a little out of character, even for human Spock, because
I don't think so, because things that humans do get on Vulcan all the time, and they just learn to deal with it because they learn to deal with humans. But
Like the smell.
the smell.
Apparently, we
Human.
stink.
Oh yeah,
That's
they've said
bad
that
as Klingons smell.
several
right?
times. They've said that.
That's a
Mhm.
callback to Enterprise.
Mhm.
Several, yeah.
I completely forgot about that, to be honest. Like, I've
Oh,
always
yeah.
known Klingon stank to us, but I didn't know we stank to Vulcan.
I was a little horrified when Sevet just picked up the Tevmel with his hands.
Oh,
Mm.
Yeah, because
T'Pol would have been furious.
Well, T'Pol would never have touched bacon either. So
I mean, valid. But
Yeah,
also,
T'Pol was-
like, we were
T'Pol
also
was
all
vegan.
Spock in that moment. Let's be real.
Mm.
I was like, go ahead, eat it, man. Eat it.
But before we get too
So,
far into it,
um,
I do want to talk about what I think is actually the saddest moment in the episode. Because if I stick it in the middle, we have time to like come back on a better moment.
Okay.
And that is when Amanda looks at Spock and says, "As a human living on Vulcan, I have learned to conceal my pain, or to suppress my pain."
that's got to speak to every mother around the globe.
Well, this was a fantastic Amanda episode.
It really was. It really absolutely was. And it kind of showcases not only everything that she sacrificed to do it, but why she chose to sacrifice it and to sacrifice what she does. And also just how freaking clever she is. Like she's like, all right, we're going to roll with this.
Yeah.
Right.
We're going to make this work, and that's what we're going to do. And
But
she's
she-
going to come up with a way to make it happen.
She would have to suppress all that, and she's smart enough to know that. I mean, she wouldn't have lasted long at all in that marriage or on that planet if she did not. They'd be like, "She got to go, bro."
Yeah, but that's a really big choice and a really big.
It's like telling me, if you want to be with me, you can never be yourself.
Yeah, and having to
I'm
make
agreeing with
that decision, and because I don't get the feeling that Sarek is terribly good at recognizing what she's doing. We know Spock isn't, because he has that realization, which I think we all have at one point or another with our parents.
I definitely had the conversation, of course, before she passed. Had definitely had to have those hard conversations with mom. You know, like, hey, like, when there was like this moment, like it was about 3 weeks before she passed, where we both like really apologized to each other, and she was like, and I told her, Mom, you've done so much for me. I'm so sorry. I had no idea, and I probably still have no idea because I don't have kids of my own yet. And of course, you never truly know until like you have kids of your own, like, to feel exactly what I'll never know what a mother feels, but like how as a parent in general, I probably won't get that until I have a kid of my own. Right now, I'm just the gunkle.
Gunkle or big uncle?
This definitely reinforces the feelings that we've had of Spock against Sarek, because he's
Mhm.
obviously much more supportive of his mother, even more so after this.
Yes.
Well, because I mean, I guess you could say like a mother's love is always shown as deeper than the father's, and fathers tend to be shown as more stern and.
I just think Sarek's a dick.
Sarek has always.
I mean, not to put too fine a point on it, but like, I mean, I go back and forth on whether or not Worf or Sarek is a worse parent.
I was literally about to say that. I said I'm gonna vote Sarek was a worse parent than Worf.
Well, Worf is just an absent. He's just like a.
Sarek
just
had
like-
200 years, literally.
He's like Worf is just like, I gotta feed him twice a day. Oh, give him back to his mother.
But
Like
he made up and reconciled and bettered himself. Literally, how long do Klingons live? And Worf was like, I'm just saying, look, the House of Rosenko, which means he resolved stuff.
No.
Alexander was in his wedding. Okay, that's 2. Okay, be clumsy as hell, but that was just 2. Okay, and then he bettered himself. I'm not letting that go. Like the fact that he took the time to better himself. What did Sarek do? Have amnesia, give Picard a heart attack, and died. Like that. That's literally it.
that would have been That was a great thing. I think DS9 missed out on is that they could have had Alexander as a regular on that show. Not the character that played him that time he was on there, but somebody to play him. That way they would have had Rom and Jake Sisko, and they would have had
Alexander in Star Trek Legacy.
Oh yeah, if we had that trio of Nog,
trio,
Jake, and Alexander hanging out,
So
that would have
not,
been pretty good.
What I say,
Not-
Rom? I meant
not to go back, but this we have had this discussion about Sarek being a bad father. I don't think that he was a bad father. I think he was a misunderstood father. I think Sarek was in a situation where he was married to a human, and remember in Vulcan culture, it's the woman that basically leads the family. But he's married to a human. So in a lot of ways, like we just talked about how Sarek would have handled a particular situation. Sarek was overcompensating in a lot of different ways. Remember, he's an ambassador. He's an ambassador to Earth. And so he has got to be extra Vulcan, right? And so
That's not how being an ambassador works.
No,
Well,
it's,
he didn't
it's
really
not how
admit
it,
his
that's
true
not how it
feelings
works.
until-
However,
Yeah.
he has to be a Vulcan at all times. Even his wife had to be a Vulcan, right? And so he in order to, this is my position. This is where I am. I want to keep this position. I value this position. I want other Vulcans to
Just
value
saying,
humans.
Don't embarrass me,
So-
boy. Don't embarrass me, boy. That's
Well,
that's
yeah, but
don't
if you
embarrass
think
me,
about
boy.
it, like how different is that from any other father, right?
Well, I'm thinking
it's not all that dissimilar.
I'm thinking we're missing two things here. One, we really don't have anything to compare it to as him being a father. We haven't seen any other
Vulcan
relationship.
parents, except
Vulcan,
Cole,
yeah,
or Tuvok, rather. Sorry.
except for Tuvok, and his dad was kind of the same way. Two, Vulcans are all dicks anyway. They're all dicks, almost all of them. 90% of them are assholes.
Spock did say this. Spock
I-
did say this.
Say this time and
But-
time again. They're all arrogant assholes. Just go through all the fucking shows. Pretty arrogant.
I really felt like T'Pring was a callback to Enterprise Vulcans.
Because
really
you gotta
did.
think about it. Those Vulcans that we saw there were just being were kind of raised. I'm not gonna say they were full-fledged adults, but those adults that we see in Strange New Worlds were children during the time of Enterprise. So they came out of that era of where they were raised. Right?
Yeah, but it's like Vulcans just their whole society is just so regretful of first contact. Like they do not. I bet you they don't have first contact on their planet.
Well, I mean, and
they
that's a
did
conversation.
regret that day ever. Wish we never met you. Wish we never met you.
Well, that's a conversation.
No
but if I
further
were-
contact is necessary.
if I were to
Exactly.
stick to the facts- because I hear what Jermaine is saying. If I were to stick to the facts, though, and I don't like mentioning these films, but if I were to call back to the 2009 reboot, Sarek did say I might have said in the beginning that I was there because I was an ambassador and all this other stuff, but the truth is I married your mother because I loved her.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Right?
everything we've seen of Sarek has been Sarek making poorly thought out choices, right? We have that whole conversation where he basically hamstrings Michael's ability to move forward because he wants Spock to do something without recognizing that Spock is his own person and has his own desires, right? It's Sarah.
is that
I mean, I
different from
to give him the
most
benefit of the
fathers?
doubt.
How is that different from most fathers?
Because Sarek is refusing. I mean, Sarek's refusing to interact with his children as if they're people.
He's also refusing to
He is
acknowledge any
dictating
human.
he is dictating to his children as if they are extensions of himself and that he can make those demands. Right? He's not understanding that they have their own goals, they have their own situations, and they have their own
The history
struggles.
of humankind would not agree with what you're saying is okay or right. I think the history of man would say that, hey, I'm the man. We're your parents. You're gonna do as we say. I feel like most.
Yeah, but we
families
also
throughout
sort of
time
understand that
have
that's a bad idea these days.
Yeah.
Are we
Well, yeah.
mixing up? Are we mixing up like cultural differences or fatherhood differences? Like, because I'm trying to grasp.
Fatherhood is cultural. Fatherhood is cultural.
to us.
It's cultural
But-
to everybody. Every
Period.
culture has a different idea of what a father is or does.
Because I'll be honest, I completely forgot why Sarek distanced himself from Spock. I actually forgot. What was the reason again?
He went to Starfleet. He was,
Yeah,
he was
exactly.
never
Yeah.
happy about that.
Yeah, remember
He
he
wanted
pushed,
him to go to the science.
The Vulcan Science
Academy.
So let me get this
Yeah.
right.
yeah,
So
he pushed Michael
he-
aside.
Help me here. So he ghosted himself from Spock, but had no problem Lightyear mind melding himself to Michael.
Okay, because
think-
this is the thing, like,
I think by that point he realized his error
right.
with both of them.
Especially, it was his deathbed. It literally was his deathbed. So that's what people do on their deathbed. They go say, "I'm sorry." He got to be able to.
Actually, I would argue. I don't remember what was it. Was it Final Frontier? One of them, where Sarek was protecting Spock. He was doing his level best to protect Spock.
I think that was the beginning of Final Frontier when I think Sarek acted as their attorney or lawyer, so to speak.
No,
Yeah, this is Star Trek 4.
no,
Star
Voyage
Trek
Home. Yeah.
This
Four.
is Voyage Home.
So Sarek
Yeah.
did stand up for the Enterprise crew because you got to admit, because Sarek did ask Kirk to go and get Spock's body, which now Sarek is returning the favor. He's like, yeah, I love my, I mean, he may not know it, but of course he doesn't find out until 150 years later. But like, I love my son, please go get him.
Right. I mean, I think by that time their relationship had gotten better.
But where we are right now, Sarek has 3 children that we know of.
And they all shit.
Because we have Sybok, who's
As
got
far as he's concerned.
Sybok, who's in a Vulcan like asylum.
I'm just
Michael,
waiting.
who is, and Spock, who is not speaking to him, to the extent that he is not at his son's engagement dinner.
Yeah.
Right.
And
I was really wondering about that.
Sarek makes a great Romulan, though.
I was gonna say
I don't know
probably the
about
most-
the character
his
reference.
mother makes a great Romulan.
The most decent Romulan. Probably him.
No.
I'm more partial to Laris and stuff like him.
Oh
Right.
well,
Poor
those are
Japan.
later. Those are later Romulans. You know, their whole civilization
Romulan.
changed after that.
Hello to the 5 people that are watching.
So do we want to talk a little bit about T'Pring here,
I mean,
Yeah.
since she's actually in the episode?
what? But all of it, I completely
Nice
got
dress.
it.
Nice dress.
Yeah, dude, that was amazing.
I like how they showed pretty much how we got to where we got in TOS.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like
Mhm.
because truth is, Spock did not technically cheat on her. But she said, even after all that, and I know you've been faithful, you still don't trust me. So I think we need to take a break.
Yeah, but when you take a break when you're married, you're still married.
All I gotta say is I'm the result of a break.
Well,
They were just engaged, though.
it's better than being an accident like a lot of people.
That was just their engagement ritual, whatever, for their engagement.
Right, and we don't know that the engagement itself has been severed yet. It's just
And we don't know, like, in Vulcan culture, like, how do you define a break? Like, it's not like Friends when the dude says it was a break.
Right.
Like, I thought
this is good.
we-
I mean, I foresee a lot of these memes showing up, guys.
Well, like I said, this afternoon when I watched it, as soon as I went to Facebook, there was the meme. It was already there. Right?
Did y'all see the one with
the?
the? Did y'all see the one with the Spock
Spock
hat? That literally had no place in canon, but it's like they kind of like did a ha ha type.
I bet you
Like-
people are gonna be wearing that hat. Comic
Oh,
Con,
I want
you're
that hat. Yeah.
gonna see
Just
people
see,
wearing that
now,
hat.
now that hat is canon, sort of. Like, but I want that cap. He looks so cute, and
They
now
got
he
people-
looks so disgruntled. He's like,
I love
people
that they let him
knitting up
have
right now.
curly hair, by the way.
Right.
yes.
Like, they did not straighten his hair for this.
Yeah, I thought about that too. I was like, so it changed his hair? And they changed
Yeah,
his
no,
hair?
I mean,
They
the
changed his
attention to detail
eyebrows. They
here is
changed
amazing.
everything. So apparently, Vulcan eyebrows are naturally like this.
Well, we
Yeah.
always thought that. You didn't always think
I never really noticed that. I thought it was like a thing,
What?
like a.
How can you not notice that? They have like 3 things that stand out.
I know, but I thought it was like a cosmetic thing. I thought they just did that like on purpose. Like,
I mean, on that side, I've always thought the haircut was a perfect thing.
No, I thought they-
Not a cosmetic thing that they chose to do, which
It's the most logical haircut. See, you place the bowl, and then you.
it's logical because it takes a very little time.
Exactly.
No, logical would just be let it grow and pick it out. Oh, they probably don't get froze. They cultural difference.
I mean, Tuvok, man.
yeah, Tuvok, yeah. We've seen different hairstyles throughout Vulcan culture, but typically, yes, you get the bowl cut.
Yeah, but I mean, they definitely, like, going back to the whole conversation about, like, the attention to detail, one of the original character designs for T'Pring from Amok Time features that amazing sort of 60s hair, and we really, really saw that in this episode.
It's long.
There's a lot of it. And I don't know, and I hated it so much for T'Pring too, right? Like, I really did, because, you know, she's right.
Yeah.
She's 100% right.
And that's what I wanted to say. It's just that like, girl, you not wrong. You definitely not wrong. I can't say nothing. And I'm mad that I can't say nothing because she's absolutely right. She said, after all we've been through, we share conscious fucking switched bodies.
Yeah,
And you
but
still don't trust me. And I'm like,
well, that's her fault. That's her fault.
How is that?
How is that her fault?
How?
No,
You have it's your
Jason,
fault.
I feel like you're baiting us.
No, it's because
Well, see what his name is.
I've had sort
What
of
is
this conversation at a time with somebody, and I was like, do you make someone want to not lie to you? Do you invite them?
Well, it's not so much.
When you are told bad news from them, how do you handle it?
I don't even think it's that. I think T'Pring.
That is that. You ain't never been scared of no woman. That's what it is.
T'Pring didn't.
I'm telling you, you ain't never been scared of no woman, Will.
Yeah, but
just because I have a natural immunity,
right.
okay?
Hey, did you do this? Nope.
a natural immunity.
Just because I have a natural immunity that I managed to suppress my emotions against women does not mean that I was not raised by them. Okay,
you're a beacon
I would
for
say
us
this:
all.
man or woman,
Jermaine wanted to say something.
One second, man or woman, when you're in a relationship with someone, it is your job to make that person feel safe to talk to you about anything. They don't. It's just not something they do because you have a title.
He doesn't love her. That's the reason.
I don't necessarily agree with that, William. I do agree with Jason. I do think that in a relationship, you evaluate the person and you say, in this particular situation, this is how they're going to react. I don't want to have to deal with that, right? And so it's easier, it's safer in the moment to lie, knowing that in the future it might hurt you, but in that moment, that's what you want. You just want to. You don't want to deal with that smoke.
I disagree. I really do. I think Spock owed T'Pring honesty. If I were in a relationship with somebody and something this drastic had happened, I would want to be depending on what the relationship is. I maybe not the first person on speed dial. But I damn sure expect to be notified.
See, but here's the thing, and we're having a debate on is this right or is that right? The problem is they're both right. Right? Both people have the responsibility on both sides of the relationship for both of those things to make someone.
I'm trying to figure out where is T'Pring wrong in this. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I don't think that she's wrong.
She's not wrong. That's her decision. She's not wrong.
So how could I say that? Or how could I agree? And because this is a healthy debate, how could I wholeheartedly agree that T'Pring did not make Spock feel safe enough to be honest with her when she didn't do anything wrong? That's why my personal view is the feelings that he has.
But he's not even doing it though. Like he's not doing it to make her feel. I mean, he's not. Right, he's not doing that because he doesn't. He's doing it because he's scared. His heart's in the right place, but his brain isn't online. Because what he wants to do is he wants to spare her
more pain.
He wants to spare her the more pain. He wants to spare her having to deal with this. And that's not fair to her because she should be the one who gets to decide how to handle that.
Right.
I do agree with you there, Marie. I think in that particular moment, I think what he was sensing from her was, number one, you're afraid of your mom. Everybody knows it, and because you're afraid of your mom, I don't want this to be a situation where you're covering up for me, and the major source of the issue between the two of us is my humanity. And it's two issues that have now compounded themselves, and he definitely doesn't want to hurt her, and he knows that this particular situation might hurt her, and so it's easier for him to in that moment tell the lie in that moment.
Right, and like you said, it isn't more about lying to her, but it's also more about keeping it from her mother, and that's just a closer step of it going to her mother. Like he didn't want to tell his mother. He wouldn't have told his mother either. He wasn't trying to tell anybody really. He wasn't trying to.
Right.
He was trying to hide.
But the problem is like T'Pring is saying, look, I've done all that I can, or all that I can figure out how to do to be a partner to you, and you're still not letting me be that partner. and that's not fair to me. And that's a really fair cop.
Given the perspective she's in, that I support that statement 100%. I'm still trying to like see it, and maybe it's a perspective type thing, you know, because it's like I don't get the full picture, but it's like I mean, love. You don't love someone the same or more or less. You love someone differently, and the love that he has for Chapel is very different than the one he has for T'Pring. Therefore, he's going to make different choices, right?
I don't even know that he loves Chapel. I think he has
Yeah,
love for Chapel.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe the
I
way
think there's
he
a
puts them
deep. I
shields
think there's a
around
deep
her.
respect.
I think Spock was still wrong for making it with Chapel. However the story goes, I think he was still wrong for that.
In Vulcan culture, taking a break means you
You could say-
having a
You can say
relationship.
taking,
You don't know that.
you can say taking a break.
I don't
That was
know.
like-
I don't
It
know.
was like
Like,
the same day.
I don't
They
know.
didn't
I don't
even
know
have
what
time
it
to-
is about Vulcan culture. Like, I don't have any idea. We don't actually know what Vulcan culture says about this. But I think this is a terrible idea for a number of reasons. I think it's a terrible idea because Spock has got all this complicated emotional stuff that he's got to work through vis-a-vis T'Pring. He's got a whole lot of complicated emotional stuff that he's got to work through vis-a-vis his own humanity and, you know, the realizations that he's had with respect to his mother and Vulcan culture and that kind of thing. He's going to have to sit with that for a little bit. And I think it's a really bad idea for him to jump into something with someone else coming off of this.
I think it's bad all around for his
And I think it's
character.
bad for I think it's bad for Chapel too,
Oh, it's
because I
definitely
mean,
bad for Chapel.
yeah, because she really does love him. I think.
Yes.
There's got to be love in this.
Like, I think she really, really loves him, and I don't think he's there. And I think if she were, and I think it's a much better idea for her to be like, look, why don't we take this slow? Why don't we maybe not jump into bed, no matter how hot it would be?
Well, I think she was probably looking forward to leaving the ship, to not have to deal with that tension, and then all of a sudden she didn't get chosen, and it's kind of like that was
After
probably a
the
little
first interview of her.
more shit
Also,
together,
mad props to Chapel for having her live long and prosper moment.
Yes.
right?
Mad props.
She did
and
that.
I love you will get to read my paper when it comes out later this year.
Period.
I'll just say this: if you were, in my opinion, if you are married and your wife says, "I think we need a break," and walks out the door, that in no way means that you are going to go sleep with, you can go
Except they're not
hook up with
married.
somebody. No, him and T'Pring are married.
They are not
No, no.
married.
No, they're not. They're engaged.
They're not
Oh,
married.
yeah, okay, engaged, even engaged.
I mean, it's
Even-
still not a
you
good
can't
look.
go back.
no, I
Still
didn't
not
go.
a good look. Yeah, no.
Even engaged is still a promise. You know.
Yeah,
that's-
now this I agree with, and I have to admit, in light of the disaster that is my life, like that I found really, really problematic.
Yeah, it was too
And
quick.
the episode as
I
a
did
result
too.
doesn't sit well with me.
I mean, okay, will it sit? Does it sit well with us for like morally reasons? No, like, but it just lets us know that Spock is human, just like the rest
Yeah.
of us.
I do want to say this rightly. You're right. I like the fact that we are getting to watch Spock make a bad decision. Because
Right,
that's a
'cause-
huge jump for Strange New Worlds, right? Because Spock has been this paragon cult character for a minute. And here we are. We're getting to see a young Spock do something real dumb.
It's like we would rather support him stealing the Enterprise for Pike than to be
Yeah, absolutely.
infidicious, if that's a word, in his relationship.
Nope, but I'm entertained by it.
Hey, look at those old panels on the wall. Of
Yes, I made up a word, infidicious.
those old like the.
I'm gonna look that up to see if that's a word.
It is not.
It is not. Are you sure?
Says
I mean,
the
it might be
librarian.
now.
Listen to him.
No. But yeah, the
Dang.
fact that we knew that the kiss was going to happen because they put that in the trailer at the beginning of the season. So just
Yeah.
the fact that they kissed is one thing, but then to lean back when it still goes to black. That was, yeah, I was like, the kiss was.
What she got on her ear? String.
Nearing.
Earrings.
Are they earrings or tattoos? Because I know we get to see her hand tattoos.
Yeah, no, she has tattoos on her ear.
Dude.
I thought they were earrings. I thought I saw that from a previous episode.
I do not know. Did anybody else really find it entertaining that T'Pring and Spock had to hold the lasso of truth?
Yeah. Yep. That was nice.
I didn't even notice that until.
Yeah, no, they're literally
No,
holding onto this,
They're holding it.
saying, "I welcome any awareness you can provide," which was Vulcan for "F you" and the horse you rode in on.
I just really wanted him to say. Like I was just waiting because it was just like in the beginning when he said "What the fuck," and I'm just like, yes.
It was in the back of his throat. The
Lasso
whole
of
time.
truth, right here, guys.
Right.
I just wanted to say, Nat.
I thought they were
you're
riding a
wrong.
horse. To be honest, it just made me think of riding a horse.
Yeah, there were a lot of saddle shots in this episode, and I'm
Yeah.
like, is this a metaphor in the vision? Like, what? No.
At first, I
And
thought
we
he
have
was
all been
happy
there,
in
Spock.
the trailer. It made it in the trailer. It looked like he was happy in this. Like, yeah. When really he was pissed. Like, I'm ready to. I don't know.
We've all been there, Spock. Solidarity. So much solidarity.
I was kind of hoping he would like do something petty, like beam his mother-in-law's hair into space or something. Jermaine.
I don't even know what to say.
I
I mean, the
mean,
fact that
'cause
she
I-
had asymmetrical ears bugged me. Maybe I'm the only one who noticed that.
I don't pay attention to their ears. There
I'm
was
trying to
one
find a
episode-
picture of her right now. I can't find it.
There was one ear episode where I really liked the dad. The dad's cool. I could have a drink with him.
Except the dad is refusing to stand up for anything. I mean, he's just going along with
And
this termagant of a
Did
wife, and
anyone
it's just like,
else
no.
notice the slight emotions that the dad gave? Like I
Yes.
could have
Yep.
sworn I saw him
Yeah,
smile.
yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Constantly. He constantly smiled and smirked. But, would it be logical for him to say anything? It's probably not his place. Why?
Well, if the woman in Vulcan culture is leading the relationship, then that's why he's submissive and he can't say anything, right?
I don't think maybe he can, but I don't think he's.
I don't know. Like, I just sit here and I keep wondering, how is bigotry logical?
It's not, but it's just like we know it's not logical, but to them it's like normal, right?
Yeah, that's how big.
There are a whole host of things that I could say here that, I'm not.
But they've always been bigots. This is not new. Both
Yeah.
That doesn't make it right!
You're
To them it does.
Right.
To them it does.
Okay, let me
I-
ask this question. Does
To them it's
not
perfectly logical.
okay. Whether you have emotions or choose to suppress them, does not having them present make you an ignorant bigot? Because now
Say
we're
that
talking
one
about
more time.
Vulcans in general.
Right.
Say that one more time.
Whether you choose to not have emotions at all or choose to suppress them, either way, you don't have them right here. Does not having emotions make you an ignorant bigot? Because
No, they just feel their logic is superior to our emotions.
I get that. So, like that said, I'm asking a general question. I'm not putting my opinion in it. I'm just asking a general question because it seems like we're generalizing Vulcans here. Like, are we?
Yeah.
I think the question is
The whole
that
thing is of each species on Star Trek is that they're pretty much generalized. That's all. That's
But
what most
yeah,
of them
for
are.
sure. We're not going to have like the opportunity to do a really nuanced deep dive into Vulcan culture because it doesn't exist.
Right.
Right. So, like the answer is not all Vulcans are the same. like they can
Yeah,
be like.
and this is also I think one of the really frustrating parts with Sarah too. Like as an ambassador, like you're actually meant to be a bridge between your culture and the culture to whom you've been dispatched.
Right.
And your job is basically to ferry messages back and forth between the two governments and to perform negotiations. And one of the ways you do that is you participate in cultural exchange activities. And it's not that you have to be the best epitome of your culture. It's actually your ability to understand and represent your culture to someone else, which is a very different skill set.
It's your ability to communicate with them.
Yes. And so communication is very important to Vulcans. Like, I mean, we do remember that Idic is at the core of their beliefs, and that's been true since TOS.
It is, but we don't always see representation of that. For instance, T'Pring's mom was downing Spock for a lot.
Absolutely, right? Like, I mean, she's literally,
Vulcans don't. It's not always just about communication. It's about who and what you represent. It's how you step into a room. Do you have too much emotion?
Well,
it's not even that though. Like, I think where T'Pril was going on this is she was going to racial impurity.
I was gonna say, because T'Pril was giving races.
Like, she's literally looking. I mean, she is looking at Amanda, who has done absolutely nothing to warrant anything, and calling her dirty and smelly because she's human, right? Like, there's been no. What's fascinating to me is, in a culture that claims to prize, and I get it, not all culture. I mean, even if you have a cultural value that you recognize, doesn't necessarily mean you really do. Like, I get that, but infinite diversity and infinite combinations is meant to be important as a philosophical tenet in Vulcan culture. Spock is a representation of that.
That should exist within the Vulcan structure itself, the infinite diversity. Otherwise,
he is part of that diversity. Infinite diversity in infinite combinations. He is a representation of that.
So let me ask you a question. Why is it that we don't see more Vulcans that are half Vulcan, half Klingon, half Andorian, half this?
First of all, Klingons, you'd be hard pressed to find. Maybe later on in Picard's age, but before that, you'd be hard pressed to find a Vulcan and a Klingon get together. Like, that just won't even.
So there's but I mean, we definitely have.
I understand what you're saying, but my point is that yes, that might be true. Infinite diversity and infinite combinations. However, what I'm attempting to say is that the Vulcan culture, that might be a philosophy of theirs, but to accept it and to believe it and to live it
are very different.
I don't necessarily think that the Vulcan culture has lived it.
And I am not arguing. In fact, that's my point, is that they're not living it.
Infinite diversity and infinite. You guys are mixing it up. That you guys are talking about it like it's a moral thing with the way you should go about your life. That's not what it is. That's just the law of the universe. There's nothing to do with how they should act, who they should talk to.
No, I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that.
But that looks like what you were saying.
I'm just saying.
I mean, except
if Spock is the living representation of that, then my question was, why is it then that we don't see X, Y, and Z?
So I think I disagree. I disagree with what Jason's saying, because I think the episode. I wish Keith were here, but I think the episode is There in Truth No Beauty? It's Diana Muldaur's first episode, I think, where she's the blind empath, she's an empath of some description. And no, it's not that one. But it is a Diana Muldaur episode in the original series, and it's the one where Spock wears the Idic pendant. Oh. And he makes the comment that he wears it because it's the highest aspiration. I mean, it's something to the effect of, it's the highest aspiration, right? Like, I'm doing this to honor you, right? Because this is a significant portion of my culture. So if we take that, I mean, and yes, Leonard Nimoy hated that episode and hated the concept of the Idic pendant because it was done by Roddenberry as a merchandising thing.
Yeah, wanted to make money from it.
Yeah, and it never quite took off until
let's all wear them next episode.
If I owned one, I would. But if we take that and we kind of transpose it to here, the Vulcans aren't living up to their cultural ideas. And I think that makes them a really great metaphor for us too, right? You don't have to raise your hand.
I'm just respecting my elders.
I'm sorry.
So
I was reading something.
Nope.
You're gonna learn today, boy. You're gonna learn today.
Yes, I knew that was coming. I said 5, 4, 3. No, but I kind of like made an observation, and it's just I'm kind of like putting it into perspective. So, to everyone's point that I'm going to try and combine into one phrase, Vulcans can be asshats. We know this. But Spock
We
noticed.
had 4 years of Enterprise. Yes, we know.
Right. Spock knew this. And because he's like, just like he was battling with his Vulcan side and his human side, Spock also knew that that the Vulcans in the entire culture, as well as their descendants and their cousins, were battling with the exact same thing, but on a grander scale. That said, that's why the unification episodes became so important, because it's just like, hey, this is not going to happen overnight. This is not even going to happen in the next century. But just like I had to learn to find peace and serenity with both halves, y'all need to find the same thing with both halves of your culture as well, because right now you will not achieve what you say you live up to achieve until y'all come together and work, which is
And
what
become Navarre.
What is it? What they?
and,
What
and
is
that's
it?
what, and that's how Navarre came about.
At one point, Spock experiences attraction to La'an, and that's really awkward. And that attraction that he experiences is very different for how he feels to Chapel.
That was a
How,
sexual
if
attraction.
it would have happened while he was human, it would have made way more sense. In that
He
episode.
was still human at the point. He was still transitioning over to Vulcan. She said,
no.
it
They said he would mentally be cured before he was physically cured, and he was physically cured already.
baby, listen to me. Physically cured means that mentally I
Right.
might be in a relationship here, but physically I get to do whatever the hell I want. Like,
Yeah, what you're
We were
saying.
at a
is-
break.
exactly what happened.
What I'm saying is, I think at that point he was himself.
Yeah.
When he made that decision, and it would have made more sense if he made that decision when he wasn't himself. Like, I don't know.
But he was already going down that path right before
before
she gave him that spray, right? He was about to admit his feelings to her, and then she gave him the spray. So he couldn't admit it in that moment. But later, once T'Pring said, "Hey, we're going on a break," now he's like,
Yeah, he saw
That whole
as-
thing is now ruined for me forever.
yeah,
I'm a
he
90s
saw that
kid.
as T'Pring giving him permission.
And I understand, to Marie's point early on, that Spock is seen as like this Trek paragon that transcends both universes and whatnot. But it's like, it's almost like, and to her second point, it's almost reassuring to know that a young Spock can make mistakes. You know, like,
You know what? But I guess I don't like.
everybody can make mistakes.
I guess I like characters to be who they are. I do like every once in a while, like an episode like this is kind of cool to see every once in a while where Spock breaks character. It's good to see every once in a while. When he did it in TOS on that one episode when he thought he killed Jim and he smiled that one time was better than any other time you've seen him on shows having emotions and everything, because he went so long without them. It's like you gotta lay down a foundation before you break it.
Yeah, the episode in which Slash was born. Yes.
Yeah.
Amok Time, the first appearance of T'Pring.
Yep.
And her mama. Her mother was the same in that episode.
No, her mother wasn't in that episode.
She wasn't.
Oh, who was that lady?
T'Pau.
T'Pau.
Oh, that was T'Pau.
yeah,
Not T'Pau. Not T'Pau.
descendant of Kung Pao.
Yes, T'Pau, who we saw in 2 episodes of Enterprise Season 4.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
No
With
more
a terrible wig.
Yes.
No more T names for
all of
The
Vulcan.
majority of
Originally, when they
Vulcans
were
are a
planning
bunch of
Enterprise-
T names.
Originally, when they were planning
infinite
Enterprise, it was
diversity,
T'Pau.
William. Infinite diversity in letters. Let's do it.
There was a really brief Easter egg mention. Anybody else catch it?
I'm gonna look up Vulcan names.
There was a mention of Corby.
Oh, I was waiting to hear that. I didn't hear it.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
Qatar?
it's one of it's when she's prepping for the interview, and it's what are Corby's principles? That's Richard Corby.
Right. And they had asked her, she did an interview between seasons and asked, will we see her with Richard Corby at some point? And she said, yes, we're moving towards that. So, well, it was nice seeing her drill with several people.
Yes.
And nice seeing that it's her and Ahura are the sparring partners, because we know Lon and Mabanga line up. So it's seeing how
they don't have a holodeck, so that's what they do.
Right.
I'm glad they care about each other. That was really sweet, because it's like they knew that she might be gone for 2 months and they still wanted to help her along her way. That's so sweet. I just thought that was sweet.
Well,
I'm actually surprised. I'm actually surprised Michael isn't here right now.
There's a murderer out there named Michael Burnham, and I was like, what? But it's Burnham, like a guy on the loose.
All right, yes, really. I think we've come to the end. Thank you all so very much for joining us. Any parting words? Anything that we want to say before we go?
Oh, did I mention this guy? There was a murderer named Michael Burnham.